Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I am your host, Kim Wanup. Happy 4th of July weekend. Hope you had a great little vacation or stayed home or just listened to this podcast all weekend. Those are all great choices. I hope you relaxed. And I know some people had to work Monday. It's always weird when the holidays like midweek and then you got to go to work and then you get off again. It's never fun. You should just have the 5-day weekend or 4-day weekend, whatever. But yeah, I traveled. We took a road trip, 4.5 hours north to Bass Lake, which is kind of near one of the entrances to Yosemite. Beautiful country up there. Hot as balls though. It was so hot, and but it's a lake, but there's no breeze. And but beautiful, just beautiful up there, and the clean air. And we were about 30 feet from a bear. I didn't know it though. I thought the woman was yelling at her dog, and here she was yelling at the bear to get off of her porch. So that was frightening. But we didn't actually get to see the bear. So then you're like, oh, I didn't even get to see it. But I was that close. Well, what's okay. I probably shit my pants. I don't know. I mean, I have my boys with me. I probably would go like crazy mama bear. But we did that. And for people in LA, I didn't hit any traffic. That was like 4.5 hours door to door. Like we did good. That's always a plus. But I hope you have enjoyed yourself. I have a special episode, I would say, for me, because it's my dear friend Adam Rowe, and we talk about his wonderful new project, Glamorous, on Netflix. So I'm not going to do what Wanup's watching, because I'm very humbled that Adam is a fan of this and recommends this podcast to people, and he wanted to do What's Wanup watching with me. So we do it towards the end of the episode together, which is nice. I get to talk to somebody, which is nice. So I'm gonna get right to it. Just a couple reminders. Sign up for emails on decoratingpagespodcast.com. Any of the socials, I'm at Decorating Pages. And people seem to like my Decorating Pages Etsy store, doing very well there. I'd have to say the Ted Lasso pieces that I'm designing, people are liking. And I think especially the Ted Lasso biscuit recipe that I have on there, which I found through, because I'm in the biz. So I hope it works out. I didn't make them, but that is supposedly the recipe for those Ted Lasso biscuits. So I have that on a couple of pieces. So, and if you want it on anything, I can certainly put it on anything. You can email me. So check that out. I wanted to let you know that next week I have production designer Tracy Collins, and we talk about her work on Power Rangers once and again, which everyone has seen Power Rangers. She's been a part of that design process for years, and it just was a fascinating interview with her. I'm excited for anybody to hear it, and it's fun. It's a good one. Anything else? I don't think so. Oh, I wanted to give a shout out to the location managers are starting their yearly awards, and check out their nominations. They have them on their social media. But interesting of what they nominate versus what other departments nominate. So that's fun. I don't know. You check that out. I'm not going to go through the rundown of it, but the location managers, I do respect them because they broke away from their union and made their own guild. So I do respect them a lot. So that's why I always check up on them. But on this episode, I talk again with my dear friend Adam Rowe, whose new show Glamorous on Netflix shows off his talents as a wonderful production designer. The series is the story of a young trans person who lands a dream job at one of the most prestigious makeup companies in the world. His designs of his sets are colorful and modern, but very personal and detailed. We also talk about how he repurposed sets for his new show Matlock coming up on CBS. We talk about lighting flares and how they lend or don't lend to the sets. We talk about a lot of drag queen research and makeup, and we go off on tangents, and we might have had a cocktail, so my voice gets a little uppity, I would say, towards the end because I had too much, and there's a lot of laughs. So I hope you enjoy.
But honestly, the one thing I'm most nervous about is making sure I remember the drag queens' names. It's the one thing that's bothering me. It's the only thing I'm not comfortable about.
I'm going to do it right now. Who are the drag queens that had inspiration on any of the sets?
Charlene Incarnate.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. Yeah, she had inspiration because she was a Bushwick, New York drag queen, and I watched a lot of her on Instagram. And then when the other drag queens came in later in the show, Dismal, which is played by another actor, and then 3 drag queens that came from RuPaul's Drag Race, either Canadian or US, and then Monet Exchange. Like, I always had them in mind because I was making a world that they could fit into. I knew when I started the series, I knew all 10 scripts. So it was very, very unique.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
And so there's a lot of decisions in the set design that are designed to go a long term.
With the arc.
Yeah.
So as a viewer and a decorator, I'm watching episode 1, and you see his bedroom. And I'm like, oh, did they film this in this guy's bedroom? Because there's a key to it, to me, that is a childhood bedroom. At least for me, I always had pictures on the wall. I always had cutouts in magazines. And then, but you're living in your parents' home, so you can only do so much type thing. But that spin of, it's modern day, and he's got his camera up, and he's got his makeup mirror and everything. I thought, wow, what a great integration of that. And how much input did... First of all, how much input did
Miss
Benny have?
I mean, there were 3 kind of things that went into that bedroom. But first of all, Miss Benny didn't really have much input.
Okay.
I would have been open to it.
Right.
But by the time we started, and that bedroom, I don't remember the timeline anymore. Yeah, it was a build.
Yeah.
And the first floor, which is the living room and kitchen, is right next to the second floor. So when you go up the staircase, it's a dummy staircase that leads to a fake staircase that is what you see through the bedroom door. I will tell you, my favorite piece of set dressing is something that I did in that room, which is the little star on the door, and it's kind of in eye line with the mom, because I imagine that he was a star in their mind for a long time. So when you're designing child bedrooms for television, it's really hard to do them as they are in real life because they're never messy enough.
No.
And they're almost always slightly sparse. I mean, 80s bedrooms in televisions in movies and television are still informing what we think bedrooms look like. And like, I've been in a number of teenage bedrooms, not that, Marco was a teenager, but he had to start there, and that's his bedroom for X amount of years. We don't know how long him and Julia lived in that house. So like I was kind of playing with that, and then Rosalie was the one who made the feather M that went over the bed, and she found the fabric that was the headboard that we made, and we knew that he was arts and craftsy.
Decorator.
Our decorator, Rosalie Board. But like Jordan, the showrunner and writer, also said that Marco wasn't crafty. Marco wasn't drag queen. And so we kind of had to fight against instincts that were like feather boas and drag wigs and stuff.
It's not overdone at all. It's not overdone. It's subtle enough that it's believable that this was a childhood bedroom that he grows into and is living his adult life.
Yeah, and what you just said is the design engine was something that someone has grown into and grown out of.
Yeah.
Because we knew at the time in this making that set that there were 10 episodes and that he was going to mature and get a job and work in the city. So I was trying to make him what would become a fish out of water. So when he would come back to that house after he stayed at Parker's condo or after he went wherever he went.
And he has a lot of nights out.
He does have a lot of nights out. And Marco says that he's young and learning. So I was always like, okay, I remember what my childhood...
Is he 22? What is his age?
I think he's 21, 22. I don't remember what Marco is. In fact, I don't know what Miss Benny is in real life. I don't know how old Miss Benny is. I probably knew at one point, but I don't remember. But also I was coming at it from Miss Benny's heritage. Like, this is a YouTube star who got famous, and I was like, okay, who is this person? And there were a few things, like a clear rain jacket that Rosalie had hanging on a closet door, so that, like, for those super fans who were looking, they could find those Miss Benny moments. So, like, there was a lot of energy put into that bedroom, and real makeup. Most of that stuff is real. I wouldn't call it costume makeup, but we were trying to make it affordable and attainable for who that character was. And that becomes a launch pad for the counter opposite, which is this supermodel Madeline's office. So you're going to see a very clear difference between the two.
Well, yeah, especially in the makeup.
Oh,
and like when you, at a certain point when, I don't know if the makeup is there in the beginning, I don't remember, but I know it's there in the end where she has that mini gondola right behind her almost all the time.
I know, it does happen later. That was because Kim, I'll explain that story later, but Kim really wanted makeup around her, so she was the one who kind of dictated, like, I want these
Kim should have put some makeup on her.
She's got a lot of makeup on her, believe me.
Really?
I'm sure of it.
Okay, here's my biggest. I watched it all. I watched it all in 2 days. I kept waiting for her to glam out.
Oh, interesting.
I kept, like, when she becomes
like her
part of the photo
clothing does. Yeah, her clothing.
Yeah, it gets brighter, yes. But I kept, like, when she's in the photo shoot, spoiler, I was like, oh, we're going to see it now. And then she's so subtle in the whole thing. She's so subtle.
It's an interesting observation. She never went like full Glamorous by Madeline makeup. No, you're right.
Or eyelashes.
That's true. It's true. You're right.
Mascara.
Or glitter on her eyelids.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. No, that's very, very true. That's a great observation. I'm sure that they talked about all those things.
Yeah.
I would have to think she had her own makeup person on the show. I would have to think that they had those discussions. But then again, you're playing with a character that has a longer story arc than more than one season, and she does say in the pilot that she's selling a classic look.
Yeah. She's beautiful. She looks fantastic. She doesn't look like she has that filter. She's all real beautiful, but I just kept waiting for it to be like another level, especially when they revamp all the makeup and everything. That was my only thing with it. That, and I hated the boyfriend.
Yeah, a lot of people do, actually. I've read a couple of interviews. He's super handsome. I mean, come on, can you get more chiseled jawline?
And I don't understand the being like a twin double at the end. I don't get it.
Yeah, that is interesting too.
I
think there's commentary there that, like, as gay couples they start to look alike. There's like a whole phenomenon you can read about online. I think that's potentially where that's coming from. I don't know what was in Jordan's head at that moment, but I know that was hard to film because they had to basically parent trap him.
Yeah.
But hold on, getting back to Marco's bedroom. Yes. One of the things that the director Todd, who did the first 2 episodes, and we were both fighting for, and we just had to keep doing more and more of it, was to make it messy. Yeah. And as for those TikTok fans out there, I'm a TikTok fan. I love watching TikToks.
Me too.
We've basically de-elevated what we tolerate on TikTok. Those people can be in their showers. They can be sitting on the toilet. The backgrounds for TikToks, we don't care.
We don't care.
And so, like, even though I was making somebody who wants to be a TikTok star, I still had to make it interesting enough for 12 hours or 10 hours of television. Because otherwise you get to fatigue. You know, you do. The audiences are very, very tiresome of things. I mean, the Game of Thrones of the world have made us have a threshold that's very high. Yeah. And the days of potentially the shows like The Office, where they would film someone against mini blind background, maybe that would still fly. I don't know. But I think audience appetites are so hungry that we want to give them diversity.
Well, I think they're watching that on TikTok. They don't expect that of us.
I would agree. That's a good point. So that's why there's like wallpaper in the bedroom. And I picked a wallpaper that I had. That wallpaper.
Oh, I have a wallpaper question.
Okay, that wallpaper that's in Marco's bathroom is a wallpaper that I know from the 80s. So that's why it's in there. And I was like, he wasn't a child of the 80s by any stretch. Miss Benny, probably born in the 90s. I don't actually know. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh my God, we know he was born in the 2000s.
Was?
Oh, is he 21?
I don't know when Miss Benny was born.
Oh, Miss Benny. I'm talking not.
Well, if they're 21, I can't do the math. You viewers at home can do that math.
23.
Would they have wallpaper? But the point is, I was picking things that were out of date to help the audience feel out of date.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was trying to do.
And then just exteriors of his house and New York. That was in Toronto, or did you go to New York?
It's a combination.
Bushwick? Yeah.
So the outside of Julia's house, Marco's house as well, is the front is in Toronto. That's actually in Hamilton, which is where Del Toro likes to film all of his movies. I learned from being there. So that's in Hamilton. And then the exterior of Hudson Yards, where we shot the headquarters, is actually in Toronto. It's at a place called... what was it called? I'm blanking on what it was called. Bay Center. But then when they do the wide shots where you see like the Hudson River and stuff, of course, that's stock footage. And Madeline's townhouse is almost all stock footage of, I think, Alphabet Street. But that was a built set. Almost everything in the show is built. There's very little that isn't built in that whole series.
So you had his house, his bedroom, the headquarters, the elevator, the bar.
Yeah.
And her house.
And Parker's.
And
then we ended up building the photo shoot green room that comes in later. Yeah. We built the test room where they like audition things. Oh,
that's great. I thought it was like a repurpose, like just because I know like, oh, they repurposed the conference room or whatever.
Yeah, we did repurpose a lot. But it was a really, really busy show. Obviously all Provincetown was out on location because that was only like a 1 episode, 2 episode thing. I was really nervous about Provincetown because I didn't want to be like, this can't look like a Hallmark episode. Like we've done such a good job of getting people to believe this is all happening in a timeline that's happening right now. That was the goal that I just didn't want. But then we found a location that I think served us properly.
Oh yeah, that house was great.
And you believed it. But it was that was a pretty exhaustive search to find that in Toronto at the edge of fall.
Was it supposed to be Fire Island?
It was supposed to be Provincetown.
Oh, it was supposed to be Provincetown. Oh.
Yeah, which I guess you could say Fire Island. I don't know the difference between the two, to be honest.
I didn't either.
Does that make me fail the gay test? I don't know.
Wait a minute. I guess I just assumed it was Fire Island.
They were going to Provincetown. Like, we know that from the story, but you could tell me you were going to Fire Island.
I'm not gay enough to know that Provincetown is a gay
But I'm sure there are gay people out there enough to know that they're telling us right now what's right.
I like that we had a discussion a little bit before this. Is the show gay or not?
Okay, I have a side story about this. So me and my friend Natalie, this is back before I took this job.
Natalie Gates?
Her name Natalie Baseman. Okay. A friend of mine, I used to work at the Fringe Festival long ago in Scotland, and that's where we met. But she lives here now. And we were talking about this job. And I was like, should I take it? I was actually going to be doing Criminal Minds, the reboot. That was what I was slated to be doing. And this job came up. And Frank Siracusa, who is a beautiful, amazing person, called and said, could you change the Good Sam sets, which was a set for a hospital.
So you production designed Good Sam.
I did. Yes. And it was a sprawling hospital over 3 sound stages. Sadly, it was canceled after season 1. He said, can you change the Good Sam sets into Glamorous?
This is a lesson for every production designer out there, by the way.
And it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter if you work for Netflix or community theater, you're going to have to repurpose scenery.
Yeah. You're going to want to change that into that, and how much is it going to cost us?
That's right. Mm-hmm. And so I remember asking the question, is this the show that will bring me back to Toronto? Because I had just been there for a year and a half or a year and whatever. And he said, without even a second, he said yes. And so I had gotten that phone call, and then I was hanging out with Natalie, and I was like, gosh, I don't know if I've worked on any other gay shows or, whatever. And she was like, Adam, you worked on Rent. And I was like, is Rent gay? Which shows you how oblivious I am to those things. So yes, Rent is a gay, I would say gay.
Gay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Not even ish. I think Rent's gay.
I think it is. Yeah, it is. It definitely. I mean,
it's great. It's great.
It's gay and great. Yeah. And so Glamorous comes along, and I was like, how could I? After I read it, Frank sent me the first 2 scripts, I think, or something. And I read it, and I was, number one, I was addicted to this story because I was like, this is exactly what should be being told now.
It's fun. It's fast.
And not only is it like meringue, it's like eating good dessert. Yeah. It also has a heartbeat and a story that is digestible. And all the crap that's going on and, anti everything. This is a show that Netflix can say, look, we're trying. We're being a little bit brave. We're using television.
Checking a lot of boxes on this show. It's true.
You're right. And so
that's good. You're not just checking boxes for boxes being checked.
No, you're right.
It's an actual story that integrates the boxes, and it's a good show. Like it's fun. It's lighthearted. There isn't meanness in it. It's like a gay Ted Lasso.
Is it? I haven't watched Ted Lasso. But I would imagine it is. I know that they gave me a lot of references at first. The number one being Moonlighting. So I watched a lot of Moonlighting and totally fell in love with that show. It's a great show.
I watched every episode of Moonlighting when it aired.
I can't believe Bruce Willis was a bartender before that show.
In Jersey.
I didn't know that part either.
Exit Asbury Park.
We were talking about that earlier. And then Working Girl, which I obsessively watched twice.
Love.
And I still can't understand how Patrizia von Brandenstein, who designed that movie, convinced people to go that far up in a skyscraper and shoot so that you could see, I'm assuming, the Hudson River and the Statue of Liberty with the ferry going by.
You're watching Working Girl.
Which I loved. And I watched Moonlighting.
What do you mean, you never saw it before? What do you mean?
I had saw it, but there's a difference between, I'm 43. There's a difference between seeing things in your 40s and when you're 19 or 17. Yes, Working Girl came out whenever it came out. I'm sure I saw it as a teenager and didn't understand what it was like to be what's-her-name when she was falling in love with somebody she shouldn't fall in love with, right? Doesn't she fall in love with?
Yeah, everybody falls in love in 24 hours in the 80s.
Well, I wish we still did. It would help a lot, I think.
All those people still together? No.
And then, and so what was the other big one I watched? So it was Moonlighting, it was Working Girl. Believe it or not, everybody's saying it's like Bold Type and it's like Ugly Betty.
Ugly Betty. That's what I thought about is Ugly Betty. I
didn't actually watch those, but I rewatched Devil's Wears Prada because it's kind of like the reverse of that. And I was certainly trying to think about Anna Wintour.
I thought about Devil's Wears Prada because I thought of their desk location to her. And I was like, oh, that's good. They switched it up.
And that wasn't intentional. So that comes from a Good Sam Bones. Because if you remember, we're dealing with a hospital. And so I only had so much money.
Well, I love you. But I didn't watch Good Sam. So
that's okay.
I didn't know that it was.
No. And I'm hoping, I'm hoping people don't know that used to be a hospital set in Detroit, Michigan. You can tell by the hallways, in my opinion. I couldn't adjust the hallways. And the hallways are wide enough for 2 people, 2 doctors, and a hospital bed to run down. And that's not going to happen to me in a New York skyscraper. But that doesn't come across that well in the pilot that I can tell.
Here's what I picked up very early. There's a lot of lighting flares.
That was definitely added. Here's the story behind that.
Okay. I was wondering if that was added or talked about as we want this glam look, we're going to add these flares. Where's lighting precisely?
The jury is still out in my head on whether the flares really are helpful or not, because they do actually come through people's eyes and faces a lot.
Yeah.
And for the most part, from what I understand, a lot of them were done in person, meaning they were done not in visual effects.
Oh.
So they actually had broken mirrors on pivots that were placed.
And no one told you they were doing that when they...
Oh, no, they talked about it.
Oh.
Because we knew we were doing a glossy magazine,
yeah.
look. And so obviously the set enforces that because it's glossy and shiny and it does what the set does. And there's a lot of built-in lighting. But I remember when Todd was pitching to the network, we're going to use that instrument as a tool like Star Trek does, but we're not going to overdo it. Mm. And then when I saw it, I was like, wow, it's in it a lot. And they use it a lot. And what it does to an audience, I'm not sure yet. Does it remove them? Does it pull them in? Does it make them feel something? I don't know, because I haven't seen them on any other show as much as I've seen them on Glamorous.
It only pulled me out of it thinking did I have to place that light, or are they using the sun, like, or they're in the room and it's that light that they're using? Like, it just occurred to me of like, was that lamp like strategically placed so that they could do that? But so I was taken out of it because of my own
interesting
work. But I think I think it's glamorous. I think it's like, oh, like this is shining. Like this is like this is lit up.
Okay, so the thing about the flares that I remember the most is that they were built in the sense that they were like broken mirror panels on a C-stand, and they were on the set. And I remember some person, a grip probably, would move them. And then, of course, I'm sure they were enhanced and added into visual effects. But I'm not sure they happen outside of the headquarters. I don't know. They might happen in the club, too. I don't know. But
maybe.
I know the idea is to kind of create this, like, fantasy land place that you were in. I don't know. I don't know what the tool is. As a theater person, I think about what that does to remove or separate an audience. Yeah. Like, that's how I feel about it. But that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, sometimes it's better to be outside the fourth wall.
It just hit me as, what would I have had to do to make that happen?
And none of it, as far as I know, none of it happened with real practical lighting, even though there was like miles and miles of practical lighting. Rosalie Board, set decorator, definitely had a challenge. American crews and Canadian crews treat lighting on sets separately.
Yeah.
And one of the best parts of working in Toronto that I learned, and I wish U.S. crews would do the same thing, we had a lighting department, and we could go to them and we could be like, switch this from, LED to incandescent, or figure out how to juice this up more. Whereas here, my experience most recently has been with the musical Rent, which was a while ago. But I remember having like almost a meltdown on set with people being like, I'm not replacing that. The prop shop should replace the lighting in that. I'm like, they don't do that. Omega doesn't have the resources to replace all those.
I've talked extensively, especially in the last couple episodes, about, and asking specifically to decorators, did you have a fixtures person? What was your deal with lighting? Are you lighting the actor? Because I'm lighting the actor in my last two projects.
Absolutely.
I am lighting the actor.
Cameras are getting so sensitive.
Yeah.
And wonderfully so. That's a good thing. We should look at that as a good thing. But that puts
You're so positive.
No, but it should be. It makes it more authentic.
But don't you think then I should get some of his paycheck?
I don't know. That's a question that I have to think about. It. I'm not going to say no or yes.
Or some of the money package. That's what I said in the last one. Okay,
the package.
If I am lighting the actor, then I want the money for the package.
It's
then
true.
He doesn't need the package.
Because there was a moment on Glamorous and on Good Sam and on Matlock when they get hit with like a $30,000 bill.
Yes.
That's all the built-in LED that comes with it. That is true. And producers, are you listening? You need to build that into your... that's the future. That's the David Hymans. We love you. Hi, David. That is the future. And it's happening, and it's happening now, and it's already happening. Yeah. So if you're just adding it into your budget, you're just resistant. And I know that your budget template's from a Disney show or from 1994. Let's get going.
Well, interesting enough, on the show that I started, Unstable, the previous decorator, whose name I'm blanking on, but awesome, she had a separate budget for lighting and what she charged them. And I was like, oh man, you're like younger and smarter than me. Wow, good job.
So there's been a couple of times in my career that people have been like, if you lived in LA in the 80s or the 90s, what business would you create to make money off the entertainment industry? Snow business is one of them. I wouldn't want to do that. Trucking, of course.
Are you talking cocaine? Snow? What do you mean? Michael Mayer.
Porta potties. That's what I was thinking. But if I were saying it now, where is the prop house that's turning every LED that you can buy online? When Nest came out, remember Nest was doing like really trendy, cool bedding. That's what their niche was. Am I wrong?
Oh, well, they just did a specific look. They did a neutral look. And they curate things of like, oh, you need like a bowl, like an entry bowl. We got your keys. We got your sunglasses. You just pick out the bowl and you take it. Like, they're the neutral guys, but have great smalls.
So they were smart. They found this niche.
They found the niche. Yes.
I feel like there's a niche right now for all this LED lighting that you can buy from Home Depot for $24.
And change it over.
Because it doesn't work for filming actors. Or it's from... They need to dim everything. They need to dim everything, and
they need control of everything at all times. And what's weird to me is if the light was on the set they had to rebuild it. But if we were on location and I just rented a light for that, like, one-off, it was fine.
I agree with you.
So what's going on here? Now you're fucking with me. Because that light was okay when we were in this person's house, and now I put it on set, and now I got to rebuild it. And now I need 2 of them, just in case I break one. Like...
That's true. Rosalie Board, I can remember her and I weeping in a corner. So many lights were broken on Glamorous. There's one particular light, and it comes out in episode 4, and it still triggers. It still triggers me.
I have a lot of lights I saw on this show that I was like, I will show you, I own that light in the boys' room. But I know where she got that. Like, oh, I love that light. I love that light. Like... I'm a lighting-aholic. I definitely am on every show I've been on. But it wasn't overlit. Like, there weren't too many lamps. And what they were, which I hate to say because I hate to give DPs this thing, but you had a lot of globes, which to me was a artistic choice of a makeup mirror.
Well, to me. So first of all, Brian, my partner, would agree with you. He just confessed last night. He's like, I hate that lamp. And I was like, well, I liked it. I guess that's a matter of taste. But you're right. I was going from the ring light. And so yes. I put that ring light theory goes off everything because it's Marco's world. And if we keep thinking about, remember, I'm a theater designer. So it's very hard for me to divorce that. And so I kept thinking about Judy Garland going into Oz. And that was Marco's journey into Madeline's world. And so what is going to make him go, oh my God, what's going to make the audience at home go, that's what I wanted. And so when you see these beautiful ceiling fixtures and you see this ombre lighting, that's to make you at home go, oh my gosh, he's out of this world.
But beautiful inset lighting that you designed in the ceilings, which I think it's episode 2. They show the headquarters at night and everything's dimmed down and it's a little bit more subtle. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, Paul Summers is definitely to thank for that.
Yeah.
I had built in, remember, Good Sam Hospital. I had built in a lot of internal lighting that then became something else for Glamorous. And he was the one who tried out, initially it was all blue. And I had gotten a note from Netflix that we didn't want the set to be too masculine because it was very bulky and it was very structured. And it was Paul who switched to pink. And that's where you get those pink highlights everywhere. Beautiful. And it kind of makes it, bubblegummy and saccharine, but it does help. And it kind of offsets all the glossy black and silver. I lost what we were talking about, but
that's the integrated lighting that you have is
fantastic. And it's something I will use on every show I move forward on because what it does is look beautiful on camera. But number 2, and it doesn't look too much like Tron. That's what I was worried about. I don't want to look like Tron. But it makes it so that people, the crew, can walk on set and they can almost go. And so they're just doing filler and it makes shooting very quickly. And as a production designer who cares about the crew and wants the production to succeed and shoot well, that's what I'm thinking of. I mean, I am at the end of the day making a factory line that has to run efficiently.
You have to.
We all do. That's why you're picking sofas that aren't like weighing 10,000 pounds. There's so much thought that goes into what we make that audiences don't know. And built-in lighting is one that is currently on the top of the list right now.
You also have a tremendous amount of huge graphics.
Yep.
But there's a difference between like a graphic on a menu and a graphic that covers the wall. Like the positive and negative space and like what that says and everything. And it's bold. Like a lot of your graphics are really bold because it's makeup and it's like faces and everything. Like how was that like getting those approvals or like doing all those like for your wall graphics? So
the very first one and the one I have to talk about is the one that is of Kim Cattrall's face, which comes from a magazine cover, and that's 32 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it's kind of broken into what would be considered eyeshadow kind of palette. If you look to the left and the right of her, you'll see it actually is an eyeshadow palette from the 80s or 90s that I found. And so the backstory on that is a very nervous Adam Rowe, production designer, wanted to do a 32-foot mural because I had to cover something from Good Sam. And I didn't have the ability to make brand new. And printing is generally $12 to $13 a square foot. So when you take that over that area, I was like, okay, that's an efficient way to make a big splash. I also knew it was going to be the center of gravity for the set. Yeah. Like we were always going to see it.
It's bold, but it's subtle, but it's bold.
Jordan was like, I don't want Orwellian vibes. Like I don't want her always looking over the thing. So I looked around and we hired an illustrator whose name is Aurora, who is beautiful and wonderful. And she came up with 4 or 5 choices. I was driving in Michigan and I got a message from Kim's publicist or agent, I don't remember which, and said, do you want to talk to Kim? She's curious to know about what image. And I, almost shit a golden brick. I couldn't believe, my 17-year-old self couldn't believe what was happening.
Mannequin.
Yes, it was Mannequin, actually.
Mannequin.
It was Mannequin for me. My sister was Samantha. It was for me. It was Mannequin.
It's Mannequin.
Yeah, all the way. So I remember Brian was like, are you really going to talk to Kim Cattrall? And I was like, yes, she wants to FaceTime. And he went home because I was like, you can't be here. I need full privacy. Full privacy was a Starbucks along the side of the road in Ludington, Michigan, with a pride flag behind me, not by choice. And she was calling from her house in Vancouver Island, and she had the most beautiful portrait of a nude sketch behind her. I remember, and I just remembering I'm in love with you.
Kim, can I have that?
I remember.
Was it like Costanza on the soap on the chaise?
Well, kind of, actually. It wasn't that crazy. It was beautiful, but it was like an outline. I wouldn't say Picasso. It wasn't a Picasso, but it was in that vibe, in my brain. But I was also bewildered and
But
bewitched.
sidebar, she's so fucking cool. Seriously, she lived through those 80s and she rocked it.
Oh, without a doubt. And when she was cast in the show, what that brought to the show changed the orbit of the show.
Oh my God, yes.
There's no doubt about it. So she said to me, I have a unanimous vote on this. And she gestured to her face. And I was like, you absolutely do. And I will tell you, I have looked up every magazine cover that I could find. I have learned you as best I can. I will send you my favorite magazine covers that fit this era. Because if you remember, it's a classic look for Glamorous. So we're celebrating something that happened a while ago. It's very easy for production.
But the 80s were 40 years ago.
I know, but
that's scary.
Well, it's not scary in the sense that what would be classic in your mind? The 90s, 2000s?
No, but when you think, I don't know, when they're talking in the show about her heritage and everything, they don't say the 80s.
They definitely do in the beginning. Well,
really?
They don't say it. You're right. They don't say it. But the photograph that's really big over her credenza when they're admiring her, that's from the 80s, without a doubt.
I know it is.
Yeah.
No, I know it is. And the side pictures, I do believe, are
some
80s,
of them are.
maybe early 90s. But I don't, which is great. I lived it. I'm in it. But when you say it out loud.
Well, but so all of that came with her.
Right.
The black and white.
Yeah.
All those curved swooping. I was very in tune to 80s glam.
Oh,
and it was my friend
perfect.
Steve Bass was like, wow, you really hit it. And I'm trying to bring nostalgia back. Okay, to get to your question though, the big graphic. So we hired this illustrator. She made a bunch of ideas.
You don't ever have to get back to my question.
No, I want to because it's a really interesting one, and I think audiences at home would find it interesting. We painted 4 different portraits of Kim Cattrall underneath the one the audience knows. And that is not because of Kim. That is because they just weren't capturing her flair, her essence. And I will tell you, the cover of the magazine, which is a Hamptons magazine, is the image that we use. And that photographer let us use that photograph. But I will tell you this. They flipped her image when they printed that magazine. And I was the one who caught that her mole was on the other side of the face, because I'm like, I have obsessively studied this person,
right? And
I will not. I wanted to represent her, and so I know that sounds, maybe it doesn't matter to certain people, but it mattered to me. And I think that trust that I had with her, that I was showing her that I'm going to make you look as best as I can, was what helped our relationship, because we had to check in a couple of times. Of course.
And that's her image. That's this show, but that's also her.
Right. And the whole company is built on that person.
Yeah, she should check that.
Yeah.
Now there is, which I'm going to like a detail that only I picked up on maybe. There is a picture on her desk, which is a black and white, which I think is supposed to be like the first iteration of the makeup. Is that the same as the hallway, or is that different?
It's a different photograph.
It's different.
So
she looks so young in that I almost was like, wait, what is that?
Yeah. There's 4 or 5 photographs on the set that are her in her 20s or early 30s. And Getty, of course, being as magical and wonderful as they are, but also Kim got us the resources to go back in time. And so almost every photograph, including Zane also helped us. Miss Benny's mom helped us on the set in Julia's. There's a couple of Halloween photos of Miss Benny. But those photos, okay, jumping forward. So we were all very, very nervous the day that Kim came on set to see her office. Not just because of will she like it, will she won't, but it's also like we're exhausted. We've been, battling timelines and COVID and all the things that happen when you make a brand new show. There's a lot of notes that come through, and so you're like, gosh, I just hope everyone likes it.
Yeah.
We've worked so hard.
I'm exhausted. Please just tell me you love it and get the fuck out.
Or if you don't like it,
shoot it.
Just
shoot it.
Just be nice enough to know that we've tried our best.
Don't tell me there's a dead corner or a wall without a picture. Please just fucking shoot it.
Can we have some bare wall space, please?
Please.
You're right. Okay, so she comes in. And she really liked it. And she commented that she saw people that she knew because they were all her photos.
Right.
They were her history. And she did say, I have had quite a career. She even says that in the show.
Well, yeah.
But that's because we populated her office with real photographs of her.
I love her office.
And her
I love it.
costume designer for who knows how long. We made sure that they were on set and in photograph form. We really tried hard. But I will tell you the one note that we got most commonly from Kim, which I could never dispute, was that she wanted to make sure it was makeup. And it was me who kind of been like, well, yeah, but we can get you a Versace coat or we can get you a designer coat. I don't know if Versace, which she even wears Versace. I should know that, but I don't. But I was like, we can get you those things. And she was the one who said, no. And I do understand it. But I was like, wait a minute. You're a fashion model, I believe.
Yes.
You've come from a legacy and a heritage. And so as the season moves forward, audiences will notice that more and more makeup populates her working space. And that was to kind of address, how do we make sure there's more makeup around her?
Well, too, the story just evolves where she's trying to redo it and I get why it's more inherent in her space.
That makes sense too. I hadn't thought of that because I'm always prepping and I'm thinking, way ahead. No, that makes sense to look back.
What I also focused on is in back of her chair is like a silhouette of a cape.
Isn't that the most beautiful piece of artwork?
It's gorgeous.
It's all pins with string. That's a Toronto artist. I believe they're Toronto, but we found that.
Unfortunately, you never know that. Yeah. But I saw that it was this big cape thing, and I was like, God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, that piece of artwork is spectacular.
See that more pins with fabric. I would love to see that. It's
pins and thread. And sorry, there was something that you said that I was like, you were talking about large format advertisement, and Christopher and Natalie, our graphic artists, really worked hard. We had another one, I'm blanking on his name, I'm sorry, but we worked very hard to be authentic. And what was difficult, and I just want to bring this up, is as the world gets more diverse in representation, the stock photography of the world has to catch up.
Well, yeah.
And so finding stock photography of beautiful women in all different races around the world was actually really tough.
I bet it was.
And so we're learning that
in that pose. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty at a bowling party.
Yes, true.
Or at a bowling party.
Or candid.
In that
But
pose.
Somebody who's taken the time to take photographs of being
giving people side hustle. This should be our side
hustle.
It's true. In this time.
Where is the advertisements that are of all different skin tones? And something that Glamorous by Madeline wanted to do was show all skin tones. And so, but even Dove, find that on Getty, I dare you. We found as best we could, and I had to sit for a long time and cast out, because I also become an editor, because I have to make a lot of advertisements in a short amount of time. We made everything that you see in episode 1 in 10 weeks. When you think about the logo and the photography, it was all a lot of stuff.
So what was your prep?
I had 10 weeks. So by
10 weeks of a build of those 6 huge sets?
We had 10 weeks from the day that I got a call to say we're starting to the day we filmed. So not only were we building all those sets, we built Madeline's apartment after we were filming. So I guess I could say I could pull that one out, and Parker's came a little bit later. But even the little vignettes, there's a little carnival and a little diner, which were super fun, and I wanted way more of those. And we haven't even talked about the activation event with the slide and stuff. But all those things I knew were coming, but I had to focus on getting everything I could. And I can't emphasize enough how hard it is to fake Chanel and Dior and YSL. Is that right? Am I saying it right?
Yes,
Someone I should
yes.
know. How to fake that in 10 weeks or less, that's a really tall order. And I remember laying out our glam coin, is what we called it, the circle with the GM, amongst all of our other logos, our, Dior's of the world. And I remember being so relieved. I'm like, it fits in. Because the success of that logo is that people should already believe it. It's around us.
Oh, yeah. No, totally. It does reminisce the YSL to me, the black and the gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is good for the viewer. It's more believable because that's what's familiar.
I believe that Netflix is missing out on $1 billion opportunity to sell that makeup. Oh, yes. And I had heard at one time that NYX was going to potentially try to market and sell Glamorous by Madeline. We made it, and I guarantee you people want it. I sent one thing to my sister because she's really into product. I started using Clinique by Men, by the way. You can't tell Clinique at home, but I love Clinique. I have no deep pores right now.
Clinique is always my basic moisturizer, the yellow.
So out of all the things Glamorous has given me, beautiful skin is one of them.
So yeah, you start doing all this research about makeup.
I had to. Yeah. I tried. Okay, here's another side story, and this is the opposite end of being prepared. I was lucky enough to be in an Etsy commercial, which is a whole other podcast story that I don't need to go into.
I really wanted to be in that world with you.
Okay, so they asked me.
You talked it up.
I did. I'm not going to go into details of why, but where can
I see this? I didn't even see it.
You have to watch Ion. It's been running between Criminal Minds episodes. So I had to take a red eye back to LA to film that commercial. Matlock was actually, not happy, but they let me do it. And I overheard a little bit of a bunch of hubbub over here. And then someone came over and they're like, "Do you have any makeup?" And I was like, "No, I don't have any makeup here at home." And they're like, "Well, we might need something for your head because it's shiny because I'm bald, or your eyes." And I hear someone go, "He's got raccoon eyes." From a distance. And I was like, "Oh, well, no, but I did because I had taken a red eye and I showed up for this thing. I mean, maybe I do have raccoon eyes." But that's when I was like, "Oh man, did I not learn one lesson from Glamorous?" I
fucking research.
I gotta come in with my face. I didn't, and it didn't. Anyway, I digressed. But the learning how to do makeup fast and luxury brand, it wasn't like we were doing etc. makeup. No. We were doing we wanted to pretend that we were in the elite world, and I hope I pulled it off. That's the one thing I hope people believe that it fits in. That's what I was looking for.
Last night I was on Instagram and I was looking up accounts for the show and everything, and to do the social media for it. And I put in Glamorous, and this video of Liz Taylor came up. Really? That I had to watch.
Yeah.
And it was Liz doing her eye makeup. And goddamn, if she didn't go over the eye and then under the eye 5-6 times, and I was like, oh my god. And then the blue eyeshadow, blue, and then blue under.
Wow.
And then she smudged it, and she smiled, and then she left, and I was like, fuck yeah!
Wow. The only thing that I can compare that to, I did my first Julia Child recipe, and I know this sounds like crazy, but I did one. Right, it was because that it took 7 hours to do Code de Vie or something like that. Yeah. Which was amazing, and I'm not complaining. But when you're putting in 1 teaspoon of tomato paste in a pot the size of 5 gallons, you're doing it for fun. And so that's where I'm like, makeup is like that for certain people, and I have to accept that and not accept it. I have to understand that this is a hobby of joy for certain people, and it makes them feel a certain way. I don't have that feeling, truthfully, but I can understand it.
But they certainly address it in the show also with how his boyfriend makes him feel for being glammed up versus just a gay guy, and you don't need all that. And he's like, "No, I want this. This is who I am. This is what I want to do." And I enjoyed that arc of it, of oh, he's with this guy for the sex. Oh, he's with this guy, but this guy makes him change. And then he realizes that this guy makes him change. And it's, it doesn't have to be a gay guy or a teenage girl or a teenage guy. They're changing me. They don't really like me for what I am. They like me for something else.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I can only offer you that I remember asking Jordan at one point, what's the thesis for you? And because I want to make sure I'm tapped into that. Yeah. And I don't know what I could do to help the design. But I remember him saying Chad doesn't change. Sorry, no.
The boyfriend.
Chad changes. You take these two gay men.
Oh, the son.
Chad changes, the son.
Yeah.
And he goes through a story that and he has lessons
when he puts drag on, fucking hot.
But then Parker doesn't. I found that interesting that, like, even though the story's about Miss Benny as Marco and you have, Kim Cattrall as Madeline, I found it interesting that to him it was a story about Chad and Parker. And I hadn't really ever thought about the show that way. And it was fun to think about. I have to revisit it now, too, and watch what Chad does in the course of the season and what Parker does. But why wouldn't you love Parker? He takes a risk on someone that a lot of people wouldn't,
Absolutely.
And he also continues to give him a chance, which I would have been like, no, I'm moving on. But he did. And it shows you that he had a soft spot, but he didn't grow. And I found that interesting that you'd have a character and a story. All of our stories want happy endings.
Well, what's her name? Venetia?
Yeah.
I didn't like her.
Oh, you didn't?
Well, look at what she did.
Oh, because the
she gives
selling
away,
out and stuff?
I do find her to be a very selfish character, and then they try to give her this love interest that I was like, why is that chick even with, I don't know.
Yeah, that is interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
I just felt that whole storyline was a little bit forced. I loved her apartment. I loved all, the plants and the layering and, the tones in there for their skin. Everything worked really well
My challenge with doing New York apartments while we're on that, because I've done them a couple of times, is to make them small enough that audiences can believe, but shootable. And I'm not sure I've succeeded in that, but I do remember going, gosh, can I just make it smaller?
I think the only people paying attention to that are people in New York.
That's
true. No one cares.
Yeah, you got to climb up the walls.
I don't think anybody else really thinks how smart was that apartment.
But I would
kill for that. It's a $4,000 apartment.
I know exactly. And then she drew on the cabinets.
Yeah, no.
My favorite part. So that was done by Stevie, our standby scenic artist, because I was like, hey, this is somebody who doodles all the time.
No one's thinking of that besides people who live in New York and are paying a ridiculous rent.
What's interesting about the show is you have these kind of soft villains. You're kind of against Chad for a while, and then you're against Venetia for a while. I found it interesting that the show, in my opinion, kind of successfully doesn't have a foil. You're not hating Darth Vader in the show.
No, it's a Ted Lasso type love.
Yeah, I guess I gotta watch Ted Lasso.
Did you build the club? The athletic
yes, so
club?
great
the
thing
athletic
about...
club?
Oh, the athletic club?
The gym.
Equinox. So the Equinox was at a real Equinox up into the locker room. And then we built the locker room. Yeah.
Okay.
Which had no ceiling. And so when I saw it and they flipped Marco upside down to see Parker, I was like, oh, that's showing my undergarments. I have no ceiling on this set. But I was glad that they shot it. Todd, the director, was great in that. But I do want to tell you about the gay club for a second.
Yes. I know. I love the gay club. I loved this because I've been in one. I've been in more than one. I've been in that
you
one.
You lived in West Hollywood.
I've partied. I've been in that, that stairway or hallway that's, fucking gross, of, tons of posters that's been ripped down, and you guys nailed it perfectly, of, just that layering.
Well, I'm so glad you say that, because, I wanted to make it beautiful for television, because that's all anybody wants. It's hard to do messy. I would love to do messy, but too many people make the bed in the hospital. They can't let.
Yeah.
So I wanted to feel the stick of soda and beer on the floor. Right, but that's what one day I want to do. But
me too.
Silver Future, which is a bar in Berlin, was a big one, and then there's a ton of bars in Bushwick that were guidance counselors for me to make this. But the real part that
did you go to Bushwick? Did you do research? What did you do?
I mean, I went to it on Google Maps. And I certainly read Yelp reviews. And Charlene Incarnate, who's the drag queen that performs at it, I watched a million videos of her. And I really got wow, truthfully, this is a part of the world I don't know. I am not a RuPaul's Drag Race watcher. Gasp. But I'm not. It's just not. I'm too busy climbing mountains. I like to be outside. But I understand that.
I've seen parts of it, but I don't watch it.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that it's happening.
Yeah.
So when it came time, jumping back for a second, when it came time to budgeting, we were not going to have money for this bar. And I was like, I want every dollar to go into the Glamorous by Madeline headquarters because that's where our show is taking place.
Yes.
But I knew that we were going to the bar a lot. So in comes the show Sex Life. Do you know this show Sex Life on, I don't know what it's on? No. It's a show that was closing when we were starting. And God bless that show. Yes. They had a restaurant that was very high end. And we bought that set for a bottom dollar. And we turned that set into the Glamorous. To the gay bar.
Now let me ask you this because I just went through this situation with Ian-ish on our show of a set coming. We need a bar. This show went down. It has a bar. If it was your bar and it went to another show, how would you feel?
Totally fine. You're going to change it. You're going to dress it differently. You're going to paint it, I hope. You're going to add things. I used to have different feelings about that, but we have to remember that, like, the Wilshire Ebel, which is the Wilshire Ebel, which is on Wilshire in Hollywood.
Or the Biltmore.
Yes. They're used 10,000 ways.
Yes.
Or the facade of that, whatever it is, high school in the back of the Paramount lot. Yes. Everybody uses that at some point, and you just will, if you're here long enough in Hollywood, you will use it. We have to remember we are chameleons and you can't build everything from scratch. Even the kitchen in Golden Girls was used from another pilot. Yes. Like, that's just the reality. It is the way that it is. So make it your own. And so I've learned, I think, at this point in my career, how to put your thumbprint where it matters. And knowing that that set was going to mostly be lit with stage lighting. And we're talking about a DP who came from, oh my gosh.
Did it have a hard ceiling?
Under parts of it, yeah. Paul's gonna be so bummed. I can't remember. He came from a show that was shot in New York City that was about the Empire. He came from Empire.
Boardwalk Empire?
No, Empire. He came from Empire.
Yeah.
So, like, he had the rock and roll lighting down pat.
Right.
And so when we were doing a gay bar, he had this lighting package. I remember being like, Paul, gay bars don't have this unless you're the Abbey. They don't have 10,000 robot lights or whatever they're called, smart lighting. But I remember him being like, "Trust me," and it's beautiful inside. And
it's great.
But it works. And that once I knew that, I was like, "Oh, you're just gonna hose it down in black anyway. It doesn't matter."
So the build of that is like, okay, we need a stage, we need a bar, we need a seating area, we need like a crow's nest type of DJ, we need a staircase. But you already had this knowledge of the Surviving Pride. Now, was Surviving Pride just pipe and drape?
So,
like I love that, and I was like, oh, well, this isn't really the bar though. This is like, just because I couldn't place it in the geography of them coming in the bar and then all of this happening.
It is outrageous. So a couple things about that.
I loved it though. I thought it was fascinating and giving a viewer a sense of history of that you don't know, most of us. And I also thought, like, is this some fucking game they're just doing to this chick to fuck with her? Or are they doing this to everyone? Is this a part of the party? Like, I just found it just an interesting concept, to be quite honest.
Jordan, the
and I
writer,
loved
would say that all you just said is right. Because even I was, like, plugged into whatever Jordan wanted.
Yeah.
Because he sent me a Billy on the Street with Rachel Dratch.
I've watched them all.
Yeah,
yes.
So like where she's running through the Emmys and like she's doing all these.
Oh yeah, she has to do the obstacle course.
That was the inspiration for that
I'm in.
experience. So whether or not you believe McKinley is the only one who had to do it or everybody had to do it, and even McKinley comes down the slide and I think she says, "Did everyone have to do that?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, even Madeline did." Whether you believe that or not, it doesn't matter. I knew that I had 4 vignettes. One was cut. There was a ball pit with Twitter tweets. I haven't actually watched that episode yet. That was cut, which is a bummer because that one actually, that actress is hilarious and totally stole the moment. But as a side story, that slide was not fast enough, and so we sprayed it with Teflon, and then it got too fast, and my art director actually ended up hurting her foot on it. Why she went down, Kim? Why you went down with your shoes off? I'll never know.
She's testing.
I guess. But I tested it too. I left my shoes on. But I remember Jamie, the most beautiful carpenter on the planet, was like, I'm going to fix it. And he did in a day. But it was definitely tricky to figure out, like, how are we going to get this slide? Glug, glug, glug. That's the one you hear. So the challenge with those moments were twofold. You're doing you have to be honoring the like gay heritage. And so we
yeah,
actually
and
had
it's history.
We had the Stonewall Inn on the phone with us, and they were like, wait a minute. She didn't throw the first brick. Everybody thinks that Marsha P. Johnson threw the first brick, but she didn't. And they corrected us on that. So Jordan had to do some script rewrites on that.
She was not a pretty woman.
Are you serious? That was my hand on my hips.
Whatever.
I thought she was gorgeous. I had to lighten her eyes.
That cutout?
That's so funny that you put on the cutout. So there's not many photographs.
Cutout.
I know there's not that many photos of her standing. So I actually we had to give her a new hand.
Okay, well that cutout was not very nice.
Flattering is what you're saying. It was the best one I had because I had to use Getty.
No, I believe you.
No, but you
I'm
know
just saying, like drag has come a long way.
You're right, and it was in black and white. There were so many parts of that were difficult, but I will tell you, I was very happy that we finally got to what we got to. But there was moment after moment after moment, budget crisis, whatever. All that was done to be like a game show. Originally, it was done to be like a game show. Like exactly like Price is Right, where you have stage left and stage left, door opens up.
We've all heard your Price is Right story.
I know, and you love I love the Price is Right. So that's where the inspiration came. And I don't know how it's edited because Brandon, the director of that, also directed the vignettes that I did with the diner at the beginning and the mugging of the gangster and the carnival. So I'm not sure how it's been edited, but I will tell you that those were hard to do because they were all on a separate soundstage because there was no way we could fit them all in the club, especially the slide. The slide was huge.
But I thought the slide was next to the staircase.
Well, we did two. We did one so you could end at the stairs, and then we did a separate one. And so every time a character goes through the shiny curtain, it's the same place. We just swapped it out.
Which is an abundance of shiny curtain, which I really like.
I know. I did that on purpose.
That Mylar curtain is like, it's like gold.
I know. I used it too much. But it was cheap, and you can get like a million miles of it.
Oh, it's fucking gold. For production value, Mylar curtain.
It's true.
At Vine American.
It's true.
Sold out all 100%. The time.
The other thing about that is that, like, so there's the drag queen dressing room.
Oh, I love the drag queen dressing room.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Oh my
God,
like,
that made me nervous. I'm like,
set.
those drag queens out there in the world, I don't want to piss them off. Because my tires are going to get slashed if I mess that up. So I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right.
I loved it. I thought it was so well layered and so well designed in a sense of like the flow of the character coming in, using the space. And it's not like the hero piece is like front and center. Like she has to go back to it. So I felt like, oh, this is so well-rounded and so directed well in a sense of like, oh, I don't know. I just really liked it. It reminded me too of the Miss Maisel background, and which I loved also. But any backstage sort of thing where you get to like really decorate people's spaces individually is always awesome.
And to me, that's sacred territory. Like you don't want to insult the actors of the world, number one, and two. Okay, side story for a second. So when the
drag queens came on the set, were they like, no? Or were they like, oh, yeah, this is it?
Honestly, I never heard a peep.
Well, there you go. That's the biggest compliment.
I was there almost every set opening, and I'm always in the back like wallpaper because I am not someone who wants to be in front of the camera. But I remember being like, okay, they must like it. Let's move on. So I had a friend who worked for Disney, and she worked as an Imagineer, and I can remember her saying that they can't even move a park bench without someone being like, I got proposed to on that bench. Like it tampers with nostalgia, which is not the same thing. But I'm tampering with people's private spaces.
Yeah.
And to put them on television and not represent that carefully is something that I think about. And maybe I'm too sensitive.
No.
But like, I don't want to just do the full blown,
but I do think
Greta Garbo dressing room. Like it needs to be sensitive.
But I do think that this is a project that's more personal.
Maybe because certainly of the time. Too.
Yes, and the times that we're in, and let's just say what the network is trying to put out.
Kim, you're so right because you're right. It is sensitive
that there could be a million notes, and the fact that you don't get many is either they don't know what. Thank God they don't know what they know, or want to put their fingers into, which is great because we don't want executives giving us a note. It's too pink. It's too this. It's too that.
You're right. They were great at letting me do the thing that I did, but it's also Twitter hate. Like it's not about my own ego. It's about making sure I represent whatever I'm representing, because I am plugged into a show. That show could be anything. I mean, I worked on Dexter, which is about as far opposite as you can get for Glamorous. But like, how do I represent those worlds all in one through the filter of what I know in a 10-week period? Like, I don't want to piss anybody off. Eventually that's going to happen, and maybe it does happen. But it's like, okay, how do I make sure these people who have a profession in this feel comfortable?
Yeah. It's such a personal thing. And I also feel that, like, when I watch things of, like, personal stories of, like, family members dying, like, I don't know. Like, it's such a personal thing.
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
Was the family involved? Like, is this their real house? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. I think...
Well, you can definitely talk about that when you did the
Wonderland?
Impeachment.
Oh, yeah.
You had to, like, recreate very sensitive moments of people's lives.
Well, yeah, we made Monica Lewinsky cry.
I know. But that's exactly what I mean.
When you make Monica cry,
you win something.
I didn't win anything.
You had to change it all.
I'm still Pinterest buddies with her, though, so that's something.
That's good.
Yeah. The other thing, though, the wallpaper in the bathroom.
Oh,
the bathroom altogether is I think an eye-opening experience for a lot of people. In a sense, if you've gotten past the gay, and then you get to the bathroom, which is such a sensitive, fucking ridiculous conversation. Kind of. I mean, I don't know. I have little boys, and I take them in the women's room all the time. And I think to myself, what age do I not take them in? Because it's a ladies' room. And I think to myself, who is going to give a fuck? Like, who's going to give a shit if I bring a little boy in with his mom to thing? But if they were on their own, what is the age that people would be weirded out? Like, I do think about these things. And I think that it's interesting in this series that it's obviously an all-gender bathroom. It's also kind of a, like, Cheers bar moment where people are having conversations about, you know, the plot and the scene and everything, and it gives another opportunity to converse in a space that's not usually conversable because you've made it all gender. What I really like about it is the camera views of either you're looking at the reflection or you're looking at them straight on. And there's some of it that's personal when you're looking at them straight on and they're telling their story or they're trying to admit, especially, I hate her, the Venetia.
Venetia, yeah.
Yeah. Especially her, I find that they use that head on more sensitively and with
Chad?
Marco more head on with those two characters rather than their reflection. That might just be me. But I find that you giving them the option of that in the design is really great storytelling. And to be able to give that perspective of the character in different views.
I mean, so when I designed that bathroom, I had the luxury of knowing all the scenes that were going to happen in that bathroom over the course of 10 episodes, which had I only known the pilot, I might have designed it differently.
Right.
But I pretty much knew that only bad news was happening in the bathroom. And so the inspiration for that became predatorial. Because Chad is the first predator in that bathroom. Yeah. And I don't remember the course of the season enough right now to remember if there's more of that.
Well, he wants to go against Marco. He wants to
I've definitely plugged into Jurassic Park because I'm like, they are in the weeds. Literally, they are going to do. This is where the parts of the show that are not.
Wait, the social media girl has a great line that I laughed out loud, and she was she was like, "The Raptors are at the gate." Like, she has like one line.
She steals the show, in my opinion.
I
always.
Laughed out
and
loud.
And her in Jury Duty, like.
I love Jury Duty.
Yeah, I know. Well, she's the nail tech. She's one of the witnesses.
She's who?
She's one of the witnesses in Jury Duty.
She's one of the witnesses?
She's a nail tech, social media. Just go back and watch it. You'll find her and you'll laugh out loud. Yes, she's definitely in Jury Duty.
I just watched it. I didn't even get it.
So the reason why it's darkly lit and the way that it is
the wallpaper's fantastic.
Yeah,
the blue,
that is
100%.
Okay,
wallpaper, it's fantastic.
This is where Rosalie Ward
Where did you get that wallpaper?
She wanted animal prints in the show from day one.
Wait a minute.
And I was against animal print because I was like, people on Twitter,
the
blah blah blah.
decorator does the wallpaper back there.
Yes.
In Canada?
Yes, definitely. And flooring.
Do you like that? That the wallpaper does decorator back there?
It doesn't matter to me what I like as much, like who's doing it, as long as I know. That's the part that is confusing. It's like I want to be able to, because ultimately I made those decisions. Like we did that as a team, but like it's different when it's coming. Like it's just different. Like Rosalie basically had to come up with lots of flooring choices and lots of wallpaper samples. I will tell you that Rosalie was the one who decided to do animal print, and by the end she had to pull me back because I was like, zebra, why don't we have zebra in here? But the cheetahs on the wallpaper in there, and then the palm fronds, and then the red, I admit I went overboard in the bathroom, but I did it because it's a part of the show where the show is still pulling you in, and it happens at the very end of episode 1 when you go in there for the first time. The other thing about it is those ring lights. And I wanted everyone to look their best because I knew it was going to be moodily lit, and I wanted everybody's makeup to be like spotless. So that's why I did those big ring lights.
I love it.
And I love that. There's also a place across. I don't know how often they used. I built it on a triangle because I didn't know at one point there wouldn't be 3 people in there. So I tried to build it to use it. But yes, it's an all-gender bathroom, and so are our sound stages. The CBS was okay, if this is how this is going to be for the show, we're going to do it. And then when we went to Matlock, they turned it back into male and female, which is not funny. I thought it was funny. They're like, nope, back to normal.
Back to Matlock days.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to girl and boy.
But no, I love that you talk about that bathroom because I
love that bathroom.
Cringe and smile every time it comes on TV because I'm like, well, because it was actually kind of complicated. There's a lot going on in that one. Every surface is different.
Not like you're showing the urinals or anything.
No, there's no toilets. But like, I don't want to be a designer that has every single view look outrageous because then you're always topping yourself. And
I don't think it does. I think look, obviously I love wallpaper. You've been in my house.
Yeah.
And you've seen all of my bathrooms. Like, the bathroom actually is, I feel like, such an intimate place that you can be more bold because you're only in there for a little bit.
Right, and it's where people are themselves.
Yeah, you're letting go.
Yeah, you literally are letting go.
You're letting go.
Okay.
Okay, wait. Okay, the rundown apartment in episode
Dismal's
10.
apartment, yeah.
That
was a location.
That was location.
Yeah, and I didn't get to go as far down as I wanted. I really wanted to sink that battleship because I wanted to show that Dismal was really trying, but there's still that like element of like television and glamorous and like where we are in the glossy world. So it turned out great, but I did want to go lower.
I found myself at least through episode at least 2 and 3 being like, okay, where is this soundtrack on Spotify?
Oh, good point.
Where is all this music? Because I'm old and I like this. There's like integration of like old and new.
There really
and
is.
I could be cool if I knew this new music.
I could be cool.
And I looked it up, I couldn't find it. And then, so I had done an episode with Bill Irwin, who did the music for Dexter.
Oh, cool.
And New Blood. And I had such an interesting conversation of, if only I had heard this music when I was decorating.
Oh.
Or does the design, do you have any, and there's no interaction really. Do you have any inclination of, what this music is? Because it's so...
Here's
good
the only thing
in this series
about music that I can tell you that was really disappointing because it was absolutely the funniest joke in the entire series and it was cut. So for those of you who know the series, there's a point in which Madeline kind of goes to her townhouse to kind of create an idea, and Chad is worried, so he goes to the house and he sees that the idea board is empty.
Right.
And he's really freaked out. He's like, Mom, I'm going to go away. I'm going to come back, essentially. And in the time that he's gone... She's been busy at work. He comes back and she says, I have the best idea, Chad. I've come up with Glamour Hollywood. And he's like, tell me about it, Mom. And she starts walking through this beautiful layout she has on the idea board. And she's like, Marlon Brando is on the cover of the magazine. Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. And he goes, Mom, you're just reciting the lyrics to Vogue.
Vogue.
And it was the funniest line, but Madonna allegedly wouldn't say yes to that moment, so it got cut. I know, of all people. God bless Madonna.
How is that copywriting anything?
Who knows? Because CBS Legal, God bless them, but they are double checking and crossing off every T.
These are hindering. I talk about clearances all the time. Clearances are hindering our
reflection of reality. That's what they're hindering. And I know, I understand why they have to do it, because party artists are litigious. We couldn't even, there was Harry Potter.
I don't give a fuck.
Harry Potter was playing while we were in Toronto, and we couldn't even have those street banners because they were worried that Harry Potter would come after us. It's like, there has to be lines, but I understand why people are looking for...
But it didn't used to be this way.
No, you're right.
Like on Family Ties, they played Life. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's probably because Parker Brothers paid them to do that as a commercial.
Oh, maybe.
If it's Parker Brothers. Life, I don't know.
But
anyway,
I don't know. You used to be able to like show shit.
I know that Jordan wrote in a lot of music that had to be compromised, and I absolutely know that the Chicago song that we used was hopeful to be the B.B. Newirth version, and I think they had to go with the original because of different...
I don't even know.
Stuff.
I don't know
either.
The difference.
I don't know for sure, but I know. We'll get that gay. It's more fun. No, but the fact that the B.B. Newirth one is the one that we know,
right?
And so, like, if you go the one that I know, I'll say that.
And
I don't
Renee
know. We
Zellweger
know.
One. They went with
that's a different. No, that's a different. No,
Chicago.
BB. Yeah, no, I know, but B.B. Newirth was the one that was like the Broadway one.
Yes.
You're right. I hadn't even thought about the Renee Zellweger one. And I actually don't know what the one they used in the show was, but I know that Jordan was very specific. And
I would not be able to tell the difference, so I can't tell you. I watched it, but I have no idea.
I can't believe they don't have a playlist for the show, and I can't believe they're not making them make up like Mass Line, because I guarantee people will buy it.
I might be wrong. Maybe it came out like the day after I looked. I looked on, but I mean, why not do it the day it comes out? I looked on Spotify. I looked on iTunes. That was the reach.
Yeah. Here's what I think. My theory is that Netflix didn't think it would perform as well as it did, given the climate right now.
But what did you tell me before we started? You knew it was going to come out in June.
We knew from the day we started back. I got hired April 28th of 2022. That day I knew it was coming out in June of 2023, because they knew it was coming out to an audience for gay people, of gay people during Pride Month. What better way to celebrate all that? And I have to applaud Netflix bravery for doing so. But I wonder if they just didn't know what would be as successful as it seems to be. It's 4 on Netflix right now.
Yes.
Maybe it will drop tomorrow, but for right now, let's be excited about its success.
The other question I was going to ask you that we kind of already talked about in our little pre-party we had, it's 45 minutes. Which is weird to me that it's an exact 45 minutes almost of all the episodes. And I feel like it used to be like, a season is 12 episodes and then it's 10. And now like a lot of them are 8 and maybe 6. Like, do you think that Netflix or streaming did this deliberately to try to get it down to 45 minutes? Or are they trying to, I don't understand. You're streaming. Make it an hour. Make it an hour 20. You got the time. You got the bandwidth. Like, do it.
No, you're right. You have an endless ability to make someone watch something. I know that when we were making these episodes, they were designed to be 1 hour long. And I'm pretty sure most scripts are like 63, 65,
How many
60
shoot
pages.
Days per episode? You did doubles.
It was a year ago. Yeah, it was all splits and it was all like boarded, and I couldn't tell you because like we were battling against the weather.
But you did 2 at a time. You doubled up.
Yeah, like Todd did 2 episodes and Brendan did 2.
And Rachel Asher, who I love.
Right, unbelievable.
I worked on Good Place. Were you there when we did Good Place?
Yes. Rachel Asher,
so
supreme.
Great.
All the directors on that series were wonderful to work with and so collaborative. And I'd be interesting to know what their experiences were like, because we really didn't have time to debrief. We were moving very quickly. When you watch those episodes, there's a tremendous amount of art department in each episode.
Oh my God, yeah.
But to answer your question, I believe that every episode was designed to be 1 hour, and all I can think of is that they either got edited down for speed, edited down for content, or they've just decided that 45 minutes is all the attention span people can tolerate anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's 47 minutes on this podcast, and I say it all the time. Like, I know you're not listening to me at the end.
Oh, right, they stop?
Well, it's a drop.
Oh.
It's like 47 minutes is my...
Interesting.
Yeah.
So all this part needs to come before 47 minutes to get them through the end.
Yeah. So that's
okay.
What, if you want to do when it's watching,
I want
comes
to.
in the beginning.
No, I want to hear it now. So let's do it.
All right, but I don't know if you're watching what Wanup's watching.
I don't care. I want to hear it. It's my favorite part. So all right. If this is in it or not, I love her podcast and I think it's great. I recommend it to a lot of people because a lot of people want to know how to do behind the scenes. And what people say when they want to hear behind the scenes is they really just want to hear the glossy celebrity interactions. But when you get down to the brass tacks, this show is what that is. And I love that she dives in with all these different people from all different genres, although you need more animation.
Oh, I'd love to do animation.
I know you need animation. Like, she's a pro at this, and I'm proud of her for that. But my favorite part is always what is Wanup watching.
Okay, so this week and last week is the new season of the Righteous Gemstones. Do you watch it?
Oh, no, but I've heard many, many positive reviews.
Oh, my God. So it's on the 3rd season, and it makes me laugh out loud at least 2 to 3 times per episode.
It's like
it's dirty. It's a little dirty. It's Danny McBride.
Give me the plot.
But it's like Danny McBride who did oh my God, anything. I don't know. Outbound. Now I can't even remember the other series he did, which I loved. But yeah, it's evangelical. It's John Goodman as a dad, and he has 3 kids, and they're just like balls out raunchy wrong. They should not be talking about God. They should not be in this. And the production design is like very like they have the big congregation of this big stadium, and they have their houses, which are like big mansions. And this season is like they're going to like this militia or where these other and like other parts of their congregation are. And so, I mean, design-wise, it's good. It's real. I wouldn't say it's like fantastic. I love it. I mean, I love it, but I don't love the design. I don't watch it for the design.
Everybody talks about how Gemstones is funny.
It's so funny.
The other two or the other couple or the other something? Sorry, go ahead.
The other two?
Yes, that's the other
one. I love
the
other two.
Yeah, that's the other one that kind of gets a lot of attention.
I love the other two about like this, like kind of like a Justin Bieber, and then he has 2 siblings. And what about the other 2? But and even their mom gets into it. Who I can't remember really.
Rachel and a gas tire, right?
No, Molly Shannon.
Oh, Molly Shannon.
Sorry, Molly.
Sorry, Molly.
And she becomes like an Oprah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then she's got her own storyline, and then these other 2 are just like trying to be actors, trying to be agents, trying to be this and that, and like, it's fun. I don't watch it for the design, I'll be honest, but I like it because it's something weird. I love, which just ended, Somebody Somewhere, which Bridget Everett, which is like based in Kansas, and it's just a story. It's just like, I don't even know if they have a script. Like, it feels so organic. Like, it just feels like conversations that you're like happening upon. And
that's
like,
how I felt about Letterkenny, which I know is very different.
What's Letterkenny?
Oh, you need to watch Letterkenny, and then we can talk. It's in season 5, 6, whatever. It's already
Letterkenny.
Letterkenny, yeah, watch that.
Letter.
Yeah, I think it's letter.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. What Wanup's watching?
Oh, Gemstones. So there is a line this week where the guy they have like the younger brother is very into getting rid of like porn. Okay. And like dildos and like all this. So they go to a store and they buy out their whole inventory, and they're like, "No, you're not gonna sell this to anybody." And then they're like, "Hey, man, what the fuck? You just upped their sales.
Yeah,
they just bought everything.
Time.
Why'd you do that?" And the line of, "Well, who cares if some trucker can't get his dick pills?" I lost it. I don't know why the way Danny McBride gave this line made me lose it. And then 2 nights later, I go to sleep. I start thinking about the line. I had tears. Like, I don't know what it is about this show, but I'll think about a line later in the week and I'll just lose it.
You're not alone. People love that show.
I love that show. And John Goodman is such a straight man in it. And he's thin now, which is so weird.
It is weird.
It's weird.
Well, I mean, we have to accept him. But, like, it is...
King Ralph.
We have to, like, adjust our brains. They're elastic. They can do it.
I don't know. I don't think it's healthy.
Let's talk about how Mike Schur needs to make It's a Wonderful Life remake with the Park and Recreation crew. And Amy is the Jimmy Stewart character, and Clarence is Andy.
I think you should pitch that.
I would
love to. It's a Christmas special.
Tell me how to do it.
I'll just send this to Mike. I don't know.
Because it would be unstoppable. In Pawnee, with the snow, we'd all sob.
What are we going back
Ron
to Pawnee?
Swanson is the scurvy spider. It's the best. I see it all in my head.
I think that's a live special instead of...
You hear that, Mike?
You hear that, CBS? We're doing a live special.
NBC, sorry. NBC.
No, I meant that because of the top of it. No, NBC. It could be and stop doing those Peter Pans and like mermaids and just
so this is why I want to do What's One of Watching in person. What's the last thing you're watching? So Gemstones and
Black Mirror.
Oh, the new ones are great.
The new ones.
Yeah.
Oof. I mean...
Are they too dark?
Yeah. I mean,
We all need therapy.
The first two were okay. And then you get to that third one, and as a parent, it's an hour and 20 minutes long.
Oh, it's almost a movie.
I had to stop it. Like, it was kind of our bedtime. It was on my bedtime anyway, and I was like, okay, we're kind of at a break here. I gotta stop it. And then I went to bed and I tossed and turned. It's kind of like a story. It's great. They're all great in a sense of something I would have never thought of. And that's cool and I like it. And then you get something that kind of touches you and you're like, oh, I gotta take a break. I don't know. There's something about this third episode with Josh Hartnett and the guy from the Walter White, the one I won't watch. Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, Breaking Bad.
Aaron Paul.
Why don't you watch that?
No, fuck it. I'm never watching it. Everybody tells me it's great.
It is great. The season finale is one of the most amazing hours of television.
Everybody tells me that who hasn't seen The Wire.
I saw The Wire. I like The Wire too. You can like both things.
You are one of the few people who have seen The Wire and have seen Breaking Bad and have told me that it's great. Now, is it as great as The Wire?
They're 5 years difference.
It doesn't matter.
That's like judging last year. I can't do that.
All right. So, he's good. It's good. They replicate sort of like a Manson murder type thing with children, and I'm out.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I couldn't take it. I sobbed. And then I went to bed and I couldn't sleep. And then we finished it 2 nights later. And I was still very like touched by it.
It's too hurtful.
And then like David came home late and he's like, all right, we're going to watch something. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I don't know what the next Black Mirror episode is, but let's just do Gemstones.
Oh, I see.
Let's just do Gemstones. Let's just like comedy this out. Like I can't this week. So I got 3 episodes in.
Good for you. You are the most amazing TV watcher I know. In the sense, because you're analyzing and watching at the same time. I'm in the movies right now. That's all I'm watching is movies. Old movies.
Oh, I just watched The Verdict. I talked about that. Did you ever see The Verdict with Paul Newman?
No, but I'll put it on my list. School Ties is the most recent one. Let's talk about how hot Brendan Fraser is, first of all.
Yes.
And how many cast members became famous from that.
Another Madonna theme. She had the. I remember. Yeah, that's the theme song. That's the
it
song.
Might be. I don't remember that.
No,
but
it
could be. But I mean, I was.
What is that? 99, 98?
Everyone's like thinking about IPs to remake. You don't have to remake that. No. And change it anyway. You don't have. Just do it exactly the same way. Nothing's changed since School Ties came out in the 90s. It's like exactly the same.
Wait a minute. No. I'm thinking about the Joe Pesci one. Where he's a bum and they take him in.
My Cousin Vinny?
No, it's...
He's a bum, too.
I don't know. No, I'm not thinking about School Ties. School Ties is the racial one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser's a Jewish kid. Yeah. But it's so good. But the reason why... So I went down a, like, Tom Cruise rabbit hole. I did. Oh. I never saw Minority Report, which was...
What?
I know. But it was...
And we're still trying to duplicate it today.
I know we are. We still
are. Over 25 years ago.
And then I watched Born on the 4th of July, which led me to...
Oh, there's a Born on the 4th of July joke in Gemstones this week I died for, too. But go ahead.
And then that transitioned me to Officer and Gentleman, which I know is not Tom Cruise. So I've been like that. I'm just letting the Amazon algorithm tell me what to watch, and it's been incredible. They really got me.
They just get to like, you may also like.
Yes,
and you
I
go
just
with
like
it.
click. I saw Rocky 1 and 2. I was cheering at the end. I couldn't believe how much I loved Rocky and Adrian, but mostly Rocky.
Yeah, well, Rocky 3 is better with the Russian.
I haven't been there yet.
Rocky 3,
and then I want to get to Creed because Creed's so hot.
Yeah, Creed's good. Creed is good. Then skip Rocky Balboa is good, and then Creed.
Okay. Anyway, so that's where I'm at. I love What Is One Up Watching.
Thank you.
It's my favorite part.
You
could make a whole podcast just for that.
Well, maybe we just do Wednesday. Maybe we pick up our like a movie thing and just do Wednesdays, just you and I talking about old
like
movies.
A little 15-minute little blurb.
Well, I think we talk a lot.
Yeah, how long is it? Oh, shit, an hour ago.
I know you gotta go.
Okay, I do.
All right.
Love
Thank you,
audience and Kim.
I know. I kept you way too long. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It was really fun, actually. I love chatting.
Well, once we stopped, my fucking computer stopped. I told you, a lot of laughs. A lot of laughs. And so much fun. He is such a great interview because he does talk about like why he made these decisions and how that affects the set. And I loved hearing how he turned it from Good Sam to Glamorous to Matlock. I mean, that in itself is, people should be hiring him. So, yeah, he's a fantastic person and super talented. Very lucky to have him as a friend and his support on this podcast. And so bravo to him and his show. I think it looks fantastic. It's good. It is. I think it is kind of like a lighthearted, gay Ted Lasso. I think I nailed that. But yeah, thank you, Adam. Thank you so much. Again, I said next week, production designer Tracy Collins talking about the universe of Power Rangers, which is awesome. So I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Keep the work area clean and organized throughout the renovation process to create a positive impression and minimize stress for the customer. Regularly clean up debris and dust to maintain a safe and comfortable living environment. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.